Hey all, I have a brother-in-law who is in water. Guy knows more about water than anybody I know. I mean, he does systems. His company's called Aqua Performance, and he does systems for like oil rigs and stuff like that, all the way to home systems, which is really cool. If you're paying attention at all, water is going to be incredibly important as we go forward. It is one of those resources that is limited, and we're trying to figure out how to get more of it all the time because it tends to be important for life. So I live in a part of the country that has pretty lousy water, lousy from the perspective that it has a lot of minerals in it, and so we've noticed over the years living in this in western part of Houston here that our appliances like the dishwasher, showers, all that always had all kinds of buildup and scale and lime, and it's just the toilets and everything always had buildup on them, and it's brutal. We've gone through a couple of water heaters, so at one point I had my brother-in-law come out and he installed a water tank outside, and we also put a water system under our sink. So this water system is a Watts Flowmatic 50 GPD 5-stage RO system, GTS 550 with a metal tank. In the middle tank is a reservoir, and so you've got this 5-stage reverse osmosis, essentially water system, under your sink. Got the spigot on top, right? And then a metal tank for reserve in case you need to fill up a couple things and not just a cup of coffee or something. So my brother-in-law is a prince of a guy, comes out, installs the entire thing, gets it all kind of wired up, tank outside, system inside, and it was working great until relatively recently. And like with anything else, the performance of the inside system had degraded. There was this all of a sudden it's like there was no reservoir. It's like there was no tank. I could go under the sink and I could tell there was water in there, but I had maybe about 6 or 8 cups of water that I could get out of it at any one time. Then I'd have to wait, and then I could get six or 8 cups again. And so there was clearly something going on. It's like the tank wasn't ever empty. Now, so I start looking around online, what's going on here, and I couldn't find a solution. Well, the solution turned out to be pretty dang easy. And so I wanted to record a video, and hopefully if there's anybody else out there running the same problem, that they would maybe find a solution easier than I did. And of course, the way I solved it was I called my brother-in-law, because I was checking around online, could not find the darn solution. And the only real reason I had to call my brother-in-law was because, well, I didn't install it to begin with, he did. And so I didn't realize, frankly, how the entire thing worked. So for the uninitiated, which included me until recently, and I guess to an extent I still am uninitiated because I still never have installed one of these things, these water systems work by way of pressure. And what had happened was that metal tank actually has this bladder, this diaphragm in it. And you have to keep that thing inflated in order for there to be some pressure so that the water can be pushed out of the tank when it's needed. And what had happened was that bladder had become deflated. And so all you had to do was essentially reinflate that bladder to about 12 pounds per square inch. And all of a sudden, presto changeo, bang, the thing started working great. So it was literally that simple. And so I'm going to record some video here, show you what that actually looks like under the sink, show you where the nozzle is, so that if you have to attempt this, it's going to be all that much easier. Okay, so the procedure for the people that are watching the video here, the procedure is that you have to turn off the input water supply to the system that's under the sink. There's usually some kind of a spigot or something that they put in place there. So you turn that off. Then you have to have a bucket handy because you're going to have to detach the hose that's going into the tank so you can get the tank and empty it. So take that tank outside, and you've got to empty it because heavens knows how long that water's been in that tank because it hasn't been able to exit. There's been no pressure to eject it, so it might have been there for months. So what we're going to do is we're going to detach the tank, we're going to take it outside, and we're going to open up the thing on the top, and then of course we're going to inflate the bladder so that it can just essentially eject all the water out of the tank. We're going to just take that down to 0, right? You want to avoid overinflating the bladder. You shouldn't take that above 12 pounds per square inch. but once you get it to about 12 pounds per square inch, you should be able to just wait for it to drain. And once it's there, you go back and put the system back together, turn on the water spigot, and you should be fine. One careful precaution here, one disclaimer: when you're measuring, like when you're inflating the bladder, inflate it with an empty tank and get that to 12 pounds per square inch with an empty tank. So you don't want to take the thing out with a full tank and crank that thing up to 12 pounds per square inch. That might wind up damaging it. So gradually increase the pressure, eject the water out of there, and so when the water finally stops flowing, the tank's empty, and you'll know because the tank will be nice and light. It's not going to be weightless, but it'll be much lighter than when it's full of water. So, it'll be nice and light, and then at that point you want to make sure to get it to 12 pounds per square inch, and then all you have to do is plug the stuff back in, let it fill up, and you'll be fine. You'll have a nice big reservoir of reverse osmosis, 99.9% purified water. Okay, so welcome to the kitchen. It's not normally this clean. We have some people coming over, so this is the perfect time to do this kind of video. So let's look under the sink here. Let me show you what to do. So first step, we're going to get in here. I've got an automatic glider in there. So that's the knob we're going to turn. We're going to turn that off. Okay, so we turned off the input water. You can tell because the handle there is perpendicular to the water flow. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this is turned off. This is what it looks like when it's turned on. The handle's going along parallel with the water flow. We're going to turn this perpendicular, right? Next thing we're going to do is disconnect this. I'm going to stop the video so I can do that because it's easier to do with two hands. So now that's off. You want to be prepared for a little bit of water. You might want to have a bucket handy. In my case, it was just maybe a little bit, a tablespoon of water, and I'm going to take the tank outside. Okay, welcome to the garage. What a mess, right? Okay, you notice on the tank, that nozzle, right? That is for your inflation. We've got the spigot closed. I'm going to open that up. We're going to drain this tank. Now, my system's fine, and so this bladder that's in this tank is going to be, it's already inflated, so this is going to shoot out pretty rapidly. In your case, if your system's not working correctly, you might open this and nothing might come out until you start inflating the actual bladder. So don't be surprised if you turn the nozzle and nothing happens. But in my case, see, I've got a lot of water coming out. So I'm going to close that, and then we're going to look at what the pressure is on the tank. So I'm going to connect this, and right now it looks like I've got way too much pressure in there. But that's because, again, the tank is full. It's full of water. So all that water's pushing on that bladder. So the idea here would be to open that spigot, let it drain. Once that's drained, you connect up your compressor, and you inflate to 12 psi when it's empty, right? Once you get it to 12 psi, you should be able to then take it back in, plug it back in, turn on your water supplies, and you should be fine once the system fills and stabilizes. So just be sure, we're going to plug that tank back in. We're going to open up the spigot. Again, the way you know it's open is the handle's pointing in the same direction of the water flow, and we're going to do the same thing with that valve there at the sink. All that being done, plenty of water, plenty of nice fresh water. So there you go. That's how you fix that particular problem. If you have a 5-stage reverse osmosis filter and all of a sudden you notice that there's no reservoir, you have no capacity to generate water, that might be your problem. Not only do we do videos about computers and books and other interesting topics, we do videos about water systems. This is life, if I recall correctly.
so bright it could not die.